chant from the 25th verse. Om Yanti Devavrata Devan Pitrun Yanti Pritravrataha
Yanti devavrata devan pitrunyanti pitruvrata
Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja Yanti Medhya Janupimam
bhutani yanti bhutejha yanti madhyajinopi mam
Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo me bhaktya prayachati
patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati
tadaham patyupahrtam ashnami prayatatmanaha
tada bhaktyupakrutamashnami prayatmanaha.
yat karoshi yadashnasi. Just a minute, just a minute. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat juhoshi dadasi yat
Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi yat
yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam
yat tapasyasi kauteya tat kurashva madarpanam.
Shubha Phalerevam Phalairevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi.
Shubha Subha Phalairevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi
Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaishyasi.
Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mamupaishyasi
Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu Name Dveshyasito na priyaha Dveshyosti na priyaha
Tamoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha
Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham.
ye bhajan ma bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham
Api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananyanya bhak.
abhichet suduracharo bhajate mamananyabhak
Sadureva samantavyaha Tanyavyak hi saha.
sadhureva samantavyah samyagvyavasito hi saha
Shipram bhavati dharmatma Shashvachanti nikachati.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्चान्तिं निगच्छति
Shipram bhavati dharmatma Shashvachanti nigachati.
क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्चान्तिं निगच्छति
Kaunteya pratijanahi Name bhakta pranashyati.
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति
One more time. Kaunteya pratijanihi Name bhakta pranashyati.
कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति
Mami partat yapashritya episyu panayo nayaha papayo nayaha
मां
मां
हि
पार्थव्यापाश्य
पार्थव्यपाश्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः
श्रियो वेश्यास्तथा शूद्राः तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्
स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रे येऽपि यान्ति
किं
परां गतिम्
पुनर्ब्राह्मणा पुण्या भक्त्या राजर्षयस्तथा
किं पुनः ब्राह्मणाः पुण्या भक्ता राजर्षयस्तथा
अनित्यमसुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम्
अनित्यमसुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम्
So, last session we were talking about, what are the ways to invoke the divine. And in that there were two angles that were discussed. One was about offering something. So a layman, for that matter, anybody can offer. He starts with patram pushpam phalam toyam, either a flower or a leaf or a fruit. And if you don't have any of them, simply water. No, it is not about what we talked about. Is it's not about what you offer. It doesn't have to be that one has to offer, so much of money into a hundi, and that's when invoke him. It is the mindset with which you do it, with what bhava you do it. So even the simplest of things, if all that you have is just one spoon of water that you can offer it with all your heart, with all your love to him. So that was from the standpoint of, for those who wants to offer something material, but somebody who looks at, I see God divine in myself. I'm more of a believer that he's within me. How do you offer? How do you invoke him? That was discussed in the 27th verse, in which it was said that, if you look at the whole body as an offering, that each and every organ that has been given to you as a gift is something with which you offer to him. In what ways you can do? You can give, share either your wealth, your talent, give donation, or do something with your organs, right? Do a tapas, do austerity practices, do mauna, do service to the society. So all of these are, and do sadhana, of course, so sadhana, pranayam, all of that, whatever you can do with your organs, with your mind, intellect, like just the way we did the meditation, right? We went from the objects to the sense organs, to the senses, to the mind, to the intellect, and even deeper into the consciousness. So similarly here, we don't look at the objects outside. Here we are looking at what all we can do with the sense organs, what all can we do with the senses. And there's so many things we can do. We've been gifted with all of this. So that is what, using the body as a temple. Our body itself is considered as a temple. Navadvaras, if you refer one of the verses that came up earlier in the Bhagavad Gita. So there are so many inlets, outlets for you to offer. Right? Through the prana, through the pranayama, we take in, then we offer it back. So similarly, we can offer so much through the eyes, through all the sense organs, we can offer so much. And for our own internal offering, we can go deeper inside, through the mind, through the intellect, through the memory, through the ego, into our deeper self. So all of this was discussed. Now he says that those people who offer all of this. So if you go to the 28th verse now, 28th verse touches upon what you are able to, once you start paying attention to these things and look at your ego as just another artifact that you have to deal with, not look at, my identity as the most important thing. that you're offering to a higher force, either through at a body level or from an outside standpoint, all of that, then, you'll slowly get freed from the bonds of action. What is the bondage of action? Bondage of action occurs when you do something that is not natural to you, something where you are saying, I should get this result or that result. Somewhere there is a attachment to the results of an action, even a praise, whatever. So here he says bonds of action comes in two types. One is even a good result can be a bondage. That means what I did this, I should get this. Next time I do this, I should get this. This can happen even in meditation. This can happen even in spiritual practices. Or not so good fruits, not desirable. That can also bond you. I got this, I did all this, I didn't get it. So all of this, so, rather than looking so slowly, when you start putting your mind in a larger cause, look at yourself deeper inside, then you come out of this, bonds of action don't happen because you do everything naturally. It is only when you do something with, with what we call as swadharmas, unnaturally. You look at anything, right? Anything that you do naturally every day, so many things, right? Including brushing teeth. There's no bondage, right? You do it simply because it has to be done. You do prayer not with any intent. You just do a prayer as an offering. Eat food as an offering before you start putting it into your mouth. All of this, when you do, then there is no concept, no context of bondage coming to the picture. That's what is getting stressed here. So that is what is referred to as renunciation. Renunciation is not about giving up not doing something. It is renunciation from the benefits or the ill effects of whatever you've done, not getting carried away by that. So those, as you start doing, he says he gets liberated. Liberated means what? Liberated, in the sense that I'm not caught by the, what do you call, all the mental emotions that come. I'm not getting caught in them. 29th was a very beautiful one. It's a something very simple message, but a profound message. One has to ponder. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. Tam aham sarva bhuteshu. All beings. I am the same in all of them. And there is no hatred or enmity towards anyone. So, how do we understand this, right? The same consciousness, right? We've talked about from the beginning of this chapter that he pervades everywhere. That he's everywhere. That means he's there in a worm, in the soil. He's there in an ant. He's there also in the huge elephant, and he's there also in a human being, like somewhere in between an ant and the elephant. You can see he exists in all of them in equal form. It's not like in an elephant it's bigger and human beings it's lesser and etc. Right? The same existence everywhere. So what is he saying in all of this? I am impartial. I don't have anybody, that I like or dislike. I'm same to everybody. So few things, right? That why is this being said? Many a times, we get carried away by this, right? This person next to me, my neighbor or some friend of mine is, getting all good results, action happening. I do so much of good things and I'm not getting anything. God is partial to him. It's not fair. Right? I go to the temple every day, I do a pradakshina 108 times. I offer so many coconuts. Yet bad things are happening to me. So we get so much caught up either by what it has happened to us or what you see in your family. Somebody falls sick, going through a lot of, suffering. That suffering bothers, then slowly we start pointing that towards the God. Very simple, because, who else to put the finger at, right? All he's trying to dispel is that, it is not me who is bringing the suffering to a person. Pain is something that's going to happen to everybody. Pain is not an option. Everybody goes through the pain. The suffering is your choice. I get a pain, right? Whether I start looking at this pain, mentally, and I instead get caught up on this, it is my jurisdiction, right? I have, if I can just handle it as it's going to go away pretty soon, it's no longer suffering. It may be there for some time, but doesn't become a suffering. You're not mentally caught up on it. You're not depressed by that pain. So pain everybody has to go through. And how does it pain occur? Because of one's premonitions, one's impressions, one's vasanas. There's no choice, right? God is not responsible for those impressions. The divine is not the one saying, um, he didn't put those impressions on us, right? It's our own thing. It is our own thing, right? Whatever work we may have done, and if we carry with it certain attachment to certain results or something like that, that becomes a bondage, and that carries an impression onto a next work. Impression on a person, impression on a situation, impression on an object, whatever it might be, those impressions carry forth into somebody else. Similarly, if we did something with a wrong motive, with an action with a wrong motive, hurting somebody, that carries its own set of impressions, its own punya, papa, etc. So those punya, papa, etc. are what's going to determine what pain, pleasure, etc. one has to undergo. The God blesses everything. We go through pain, He blesses you. Go through pleasure, He blesses us. He says, I am not attached to any of yours. Ultimately, it is, whatever you have to go through, you have to go through. So it is like this, right? You look at anything in nature. Best way to understand this impartiality is look at nature. Right? We deal every day with nature. Sun offers the same sunshine throughout a particular community. In that particular community, there are good people, noble people. There are also people, not so desirable people are also there. There's certain partiality in how the sun offers the sunlight. Right? I, as a person, if I see that sun is coming and I need to bring that sunshine, into my house, I open the doors, windows, and I get it. The same thing a criminal can do, he or she will get that. Sun doesn't say, I'm going to stop my sunshine coming to you. Right? Same thing with anything nature. Tree offers shade to anybody, be it a good person or a criminal. Look at, so if you see their sense of, let's take pots, right? Any pot, ultimately a pot is made up of clay. That same, what is the clay in the context of a pot? Is the soul. The same clay, is there equally in all the pots. Its shape might be different, its look might be different, its beauty might be different, but it's the same thing. Big wave, small wave in an ocean. Is there any difference? Same ocean. So, similarly, the divine exists equally in all of us. He plays the same role. He blesses everything that happens. And therefore, there is no question about hatred towards a person who's doing bad work, or also about boasting a person who's doing good work. He also says, Na priyaha, veshosti na priya. Priya means what? Love. It's not that love for somebody who does good work. Now, do you understand what is this love here mean? Love means partiality. Love means favoritism. We are not talking love as in compassion love. Love, of course, he shows with everybody, right? So when he's blessing somebody who's doing good work, no matter I'm blessing, that means what he's totally impartial, right? So when he says this, na priyaha na dveshus, it is about saying being totally, you know, um, being the same to everybody. Ultimately, it is you who decides how I want to live my life. So ultimately, what experiences we get every day, what we do every day is all governed by us alone. So this is the thing that has to be very clear, right? And so next time when something happens, right, that's untoward in the family to yourself, rather than pointing fingers at somebody else, let's look at ourselves first, right? And so next he goes to say, na bhajanti tu maam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Now those people who worship me with a lot of devotion. Now here, anybody, right? Even the criminal. We'll get to that in the next few stanzas. With devotion, he says, I am in me and they are also in me. So if you go back to one of the earlier stanzas, third or fourth stanza of this chapter, what is the verse it said? They are in me, I am not in them. He's contradicting here, isn't it? That's what it appears. But we have to see it from a different angle. See, Bhagavad Gita always has contradictions. But at the same time, it comes to an evolution. For a person who's still, you know, um, not in the spiritual path, who's still in a lower state of evolution in terms of maturity, in terms of purity, he or she gets into untoward actions. He says, I'm not in them. When he said that in the third stanza, fourth stanza, I'm not in those actions. I'm away from them. They are in me, but I'm not in them. But for a spiritual seeker who's, practicing, who is committed, doing good work, who's doing all the practices that were talked about in the previous stanzas, doing a lot of offering, both mentally and from himself, all of that. To that a person, they are in me, I am also in them. It is like the river that merges with the ocean. There is no context of separatism. It's one and the same. Similarly, a devotee, once he or she merges into the divinity, through meditation, through the guru, right, all of that, then they are in me, I am also in them. Very beautiful stanza, very potent. If you look at the stanza, both the first stanza, first line, what it covers, and the second line, right? It just says that anybody with devotion, anybody with the sense of purpose of worshipping, and that's what is going to get built upon in the next couple of stanzas. One. Yeah. How he starts with Api Chet Suduracharaha. Achara means somebody who's got good contact. Suduracharaha is, somebody with the worst contact. You can say a sinful person. Api Chet Suduracharaha Bhajate Mam Nanya Bhakar. So such a person who worships me, Ananya Bhak means what? Single pointed devotion. So that means a person, a sinful person who's turned the tide, right? Who's realized that what I'm doing is wrong and starts, either through a guru or a teacher, starts seeking me, right? Wants to understand more about himself more, right? Such a person, he is none other than a sadhu himself. Sadhurevasa mantavyaha. Mentally, he is none other than a sadhu. Look at how beautifully he conveys this. Sadhu here doesn't mean a dadiwal, etc. Right? See, we always have misconception that sadhu has to be it can be a well planned, even a person who's wearing, what do you call, clothes that may not be looking from outside very palatable to our eyes, could be still mentally a sadhu. So here he's talking about Sudurachara, means somebody who has done a lot of wrong work, conduct before, externally. He's not respected anywhere by the society, a criminal in all means, right? So he says here, the divine looks at such a person, criminal, who's turned around from being a criminal to start focusing on me by doing his right actions, etc. He is a good person. Of course, he has to go through whatever he has done harmfully, etc. He has to bear those things. And there's nothing about that. But his heart's getting close to me. Ananya Bhag means once he worships me, he's on the right path. So it is a question, therefore, of not what all I've done, past is past, right? What is it that I can do today? If today a similar sinful person turns a tide and says, I'm going to now put more effort in terms of, transforming people, showing love to people, it's like all the Naxalites that you see in Chhattisgarh laying their arms down and saying, no, we'll start doing something for the society, etc. It's all very good example, right? We all know historically Valmiki was none other than Ratnakar. Right? Ratnakar was just a hardcore criminal. He used to just kill people. And he was doing it all because he thought he was doing it for his family. Once my family said, you're not part of anything you're doing, that opened his eyes to Narada. Sage Narada said, become my devotee. And he started meditating, became Valmiki. And we know the rest of it is history. So even the worst of people, that's the key thing. That's what, when he says the word Sudrachar, the worst of people, that's the reason Guruji always say, right? A person who's in a prison is not somebody who's bad. So he's a victim because of certain circumstances, somewhere, his upbringing, whatever, he must have been a victim. But he or she can also turn around. Right? There are so many episodes, right? Like Ratnakar and that you see in a lot of saints have said that, and even in Art of Living from Guruji has said that people would come with guns and knives, etc., to satsangs only to just completely melt down once they get close to the master. And some of them are today either volunteers or teachers. How is that possible? Only by transformation. Right? Somewhere there is a turning, realization that has happened. So in all this, right, the world will still look at you very, very, what you call, will say this person should be punished. This person has done so much harm, he should be punished. But but the divine, once you have done the time and you've started, doing good work, etc., and you start doing something for the society, but from a divine standpoint, you are a sadhu. Sadhu means what? Not a sadhu as in, don't look at sadhu as a word, what you call person who is doing nothing. The sadhu here is meaning somebody who wants to do good work, somebody who sees the divinity in everybody, starts looking at God as not as as a goal. Right? So such a person, just that a person has to be resolved, right? He starts, so once he starts sadhareva samanyatha samyak vyavasito hi saha. So such a person, he has a resolve, once a person starts getting a mental resolve, what is right and what is wrong, then he reaches me. 31st stanza. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shanti nigacchati. So that person, continuing from the previous verse, what does he become? He starts becoming his actions start becoming righteous. He realizes all the bad things he has done. He is very apologetic mentally for whatever he has done. That person, once he reaches, right, he says that person is never destroyed. Name bhakta pranashyati. So, what is not destroyed here? Meaning, that means that he's, I'm going to take care of him from the standpoint of there is no going back for the person. So when is it somebody gets destroyed, right? When I go back to my evil tendencies, right? When I realize that, whatever I've done, for whatever reason, I go back to all the wrong things that I was doing. So from being a criminal to saying I want to do good work, he's saying that once he steps into those shoes and starts getting into the path of devotion, spirituality, etc., I take care. He doesn't go back to his previous. So, Shipram, the word Shipram means what? Soon. Soon could be whether it is, minutes, days, years, or janmas, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? But he's into a path now. He's going upwards. He's going inwards. From being a criminal, sinful person, he is going to be taken care of. Name bhaktya pranashyati. So this word is very important, right? My devotee shall never perish. From being a devotee. Perish here doesn't mean body perishment at all, right? When we are talking in this ultimate secret, right? Body all becomes a secondary force. Perish from a mental perspective, perish from a spiritual growth perspective, it doesn't go back. So, person who's turning to God, turning to divinity, turning to a guru, however he gets to it, right? That person will never go back. I guarantee that. That's what he's saying in very clear terms here. From what? A person who's very criminally minded. So here also, right? We have to look at all of this from our own mental perspective, judgments that we make of people. So we bucket certain people. This person will never change, etc. So God gives an opening for everybody. If you look at, I remember in one of the satsangs that was in the ashram many years back, right? There were some people, Assam, Meghalaya, those people, right, who were part of some factions. All that they would carry is huge knives, huge, meant to inflict harm on others. They brought that to the ashram because for them it is a possession. They still carried it, even, and they took a huge program for about 20 days, all got transformed. And one of them, in fact, came to the stage and said, today we're going to just put this down and, do good work for the society rather than harming the society. So he says, so once this person, there is no for pratijanahi. Pratijanahi means what? Absolutely no doubt. Certainly. Know for certain that this person will be taken care of by him. In the sense what? That he will be not going back to his previous. All these are very potent verses. I mean, it's something not just listen to it as looks good to hear, but actually ponder, not more in the way of how we perceive certain things, perceive people, situations, etc. That's where these verses are very, very important to understand. So, building on this 32nd verses, such people who over a period of time, build the connection with me, right? Even after being in a sinful origin, kim punar brahmanaha punya bhaktya rajastata. So here he's going to bring in some words here. We have to understand. Kim punaha, right? How much, if you look at the word, he uses the word brahmanaha. What is brahmanaha? So, and then he also uses Brahmana here. It doesn't mean a Brahmin as a Brahmin here. Here we have to understand a Brahmana as somebody who does something for a higher ideal. Somebody who uses discrimination as part of his day-to-day activities. Somebody who uses dispassion, right? Vairagya, Viveka. He uses that. So doesn't matter where that person is born in, what family part of, but he or she is following the practice of these practices. And Rajashayaha. Rajashayaha is also another word that is used here. Rajashri means what? Again, somebody who is doing noble duties to the society. So such people, right, who have a high level of detachment, somebody who's following discrimination in all his thoughts, is the way he does his work. He uses intellect meaningfully. And such a person, he says, if who worship me devotedly, I take care of them. These people, so if you look at this whole chapter, was what this particular this royal secret is how to attain me. First of all, who I am, who are the people who can reach me, and how to reach me. So those are the things that he talks about in this chapter, right? So he's talked about the fact that um, um, so even here, says that people who are evolved. So what has happened now? Initially, you are a papa punya person, right? Papa person. Slowly, you start becoming evolved. So here he's talking about brahmana. Brahmana here could be even a papa before. But now he has realized it, he or she has realized it, and he's using his body, his mind, his intellect more meaningfully in the right set of activities. So that is where anityam asukam. So this person realizes a couple of things, right? That things anityam, that there is an impermanency about everything. Impermanency about my body, impermanency about situations, impermanency about my emotions. And once I start understanding that there is an impermanency, what is behind that impermanency is a permanency. That is what I dwell on. So, because no point getting caught on, why I'm suffering this way, or why am I having no wealth here, why are my kids like this, etc., etc. Realize that all of them will come and go. Anityam asukam asukam. Similarly, unhappiness also. Unhappiness is also a temporary thing, comes and goes. So all of these people realize it. Who these the so-called brahmanas who have evolved? They are punyaha. They are holy. They are bhakta, devoted. So these people have comprehended certain fundamental aspects of life, which is impermanency, that everything is going through a change, and behind that change is a changeless. And that is what they start worshipping me, bhajasva. Having come to this prapya, which has come to this, realization or thought process, they start worshipping me. Did I miss the 30-second stanza? 30-second direct. See 1 second.
You missed the 32nd one.
I missed the 30-second one, right? Yeah, I'll come to that 30.
Yeah, and the last couplet also, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto.
No, that will come later. That will come later. 35 first. Yeah. So if we see 32nd verse, there are again certain words that are used, like the Brahmana that was used, the previous verse 32nd, right, uses people who take refuge in me. Mam hi Partha, right? People who worship me, and even if they are of a sinful birth, here we have to be a bit careful. All of these words, don't take it literally. And he puts words such as um, women, traders, Vaishyas, they also attain me. So here we have to understand what is his word. Why is he using women? Why is he not using men here, etc.? So that's where some of this interpolation of these verses, of these words are very important. Vyapashritya means somebody who's trading. All of these words, right? See what typically here when he uses the word women, he's not using women as in some, a female. Anybody who has got over attachment. Typically in a household, right? Typically a mother, has got a lot of attachment towards the family, taking care of them, etc. And that attachment, love is one thing, attachment is much beyond that. It's more of, without it I can't be, etc. So similarly a trader who's so much into business, so much into, profit, less into loss, gets caught up on the fact that I have to gain so much by this year, etc., etc. So when he uses these words, traders, uses women, etc., we have to not really look at as a, it's more of a representation of the mindset of people. So be it a Vaishya. So even Shudraha. So even Shudraha means, somebody was to be told what to do. The clarity of thinking is less. Right. So a mind, who cannot have a sane mind, right? So something bad happens, he's carried away, he or she is carried away by emotions. So for all these kind of people, right, not, initiatives typically, if you see in all of this category, in this again from a Varna perspective, it is not that the others don't take initiative. Initiatives are typically taken, if you see, from Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, the four Varnas that Krishna talks about, the fourth chapter. Right? All of these have a certain mindset in them. It is not about who, in each one of us also have a bit of a Shudra mentality. A person who says who doesn't take initiative is also considered a Shudra. It doesn't mean Shudra means a person who's doing only, minor work, etc., labor work, etc. Here we are talking all in Bhagavad Gita about mindset. It's not what he wears, what place of living he has got, etc. So Vaishya is considered who's got a profit mentality. A Shudra is considered who has lacks initiative. So here he says here, Mahi Partha Vyapashitya, Papa Yovanayaha. Papa Yovanayaha means what? They cannot avoid, you know, suffering from pain. Because of their mindset, they have not yet come to the wisdom. So much attached. See, supposing I go through a profit, I was going through a profit and suddenly I go into a terrible loss, that is painful. I take that as a huge suffering. I'm depressed, my blood pressure goes up, etc. All kinds of things happen. That is what he's saying by this word Papa Yone. Who are the people who he puts as representations are, women, or traders, Vaishyas, etc. All of these people. So here then he says all these people, once you have, and the other way to look at sin people, right, or people who are doing wrong actions, you see it from a guna perspective also, you can see it, categorize it that way. A person who says typically who's a Vaishya or a Shudra, they all fall more under the Rajasic, Tamasic bucket. Right? For them, it is about being idle, doing nothing, or to hyperactive, selfish in nature in all their actions. What do I get? What do I get? Or I should not do it. Sattvic person looks at it more holistically. So sinful, all of these people, all of that we talked about in the earlier verses, even here, very less of sattva, a lot more of rajas and tamasic people. So even such people, once they start turning the tide, turning over through devotion, they will be able to reach me. And once they progress from this path, then they go to the stage of Brahmana that was referred to in the 33rd stanza. You see the connection, right? So slowly is building, that everybody can. The word Brahmana again is nothing about Brahmin. It is about the mindset. That's you have to be very careful about it. We'll chant the 34th stanza. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru. Can we all chant?
Manmana bhava madbhakto
Madhto madhyaji mam namaskuru.
Mame vaishyasi bhuktevyam atmanam matparayanaha.
Mame vaishyasi yukdeva madhyatam matparayanaha.
Om Tatsaditi Srimad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Raja Vidya Rajagukya Yogo Nama Navamodhyayaha. So there is, always at the summary level, there is a message that is given in the last verse. And that is the message we should, internalize. What is the message here that he says? It's like a take-home message. Manmana bhava madbhaktaha. Keep me in your mind. By what? Worshipping me. Matyaji mam namaskuru. Keep me as your goal. When you say keep me as my goal means what? To reach me. To spend more time with me. Meditation. Become my soulmate. Do things that I do. So what are the things that he does that you and I can do is service, right? What does he do? He brings smile to everybody, right? He shows his love, compassion to everybody. So let your mind be filled with love, right? Mami Vaishyasi Uktevam Matmanam Mat Parayanaha. Mat Parayanaha. Right? So take me as a Mat Parayana means what? So keep me as a supreme goal. Once you do these things, there is no choice. You will come united with me. Eshyasi bhaktya evam atmanam, to the self. So when we say him, etc., we are not talking about somebody else outside, right? You will go deeper into yourself. Your own self is ultimately the embodiment of that supreme Brahman or the divinity. And so you get into me. So that's how he ends this ninth chapter, the royal secret. Of course, 10th, 11th, 12th, the word, if you don't notice here, the word devotion was coming quite a few in the last few stanzas. Devotion is a topic that comes up in the 12th chapter. 10th and 11th goes deeper into the subtler aspects of the divinity, right? The Vishwarupa Darshana that we all have seen in the Mahabharata gets brought up in those chapters. The beautiful ones coming up. So let me just close it here. Anybody wants to share